What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, what's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I am your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and we have some amazing topics that we're going to get into tonight. So I know last week we talked about the election, and we talked about people voting. We talked about we talked about a host of things, and we're going to continue some of those conversations right here, right now. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring out my producer, Mark Lee, and let's get right into it.
Well, one thing we got to get right into is apparently folks are trying to pressure Hakeem Jeffries into pressuring Biden into stepping out of the race. And we got some folks that are even saying that his support among our community, the African American community, is fading. And all along those lines, I'm going like, wait a minute, y'all have lost y'all's mind. The man is still able to even have a whole NATO meeting, which he's going to start on tomorrow. But you got folks that are wanting him to step aside and for Kamala to come and take charge and be the great savior and all along those lines. But I'm sitting there going like, nah, I think that the man can still hold his own. But you got folks that are trying to pressure him. I know there was a meeting that Hakeem Jeffries held. I think that was yesterday with some of the leaders of the House. And definitely there is a growing chatter about the possibility that he might have to get out of the way and Kamala might come in, step in. But I'm not feeling that. I think that that would be a recipe for disaster for the Democratic Party, but that's just my opinion on that and everything. But that's definitely one of the things I was going to bring up to you. But what is your thoughts? Because every time I turn on the social media and the TV, there's all these folks that are clamoring for him to quit the race, and he's saying that I'm in it to win it, and I'm not going to pull out and all along those lines. But a bunch of people are trying to clamor to get old smoking Joe, out of office and all along those lines. But what's your thoughts with all this clamoring going on?
Well, my thing is, the Democrats need to hold steady. Like I said, the last time in the last election, we need to hold steady. Then the ones that are saying that he needs to run out of the race and leave the race, they need to go, because we are supporting Joe. And so from what I've been seeing on social media, Black people are supporting Joe. We're standing with him. We're standing behind him. And, I think CNN has it wrong. And I was just talking to a colleague today about, CNN and their numbers and things like that or whatever, because a lot of people don't understand that data can be skewed. You can change data to fit what you want. You can change data to fit your narrative. And so I think that's a lot of that is taking place, that they're changing the data to make it seem as if Trump is winning and Trump is leading, and that, people really wanted him, but people are not voting for Trump. There was an article that just came out about Project 2025. They said that he's basically saying that he had no idea about 2025 and he doesn't, support it. So he's trying to get in front of it, which that's a lie, because that's your whole administration that, is putting Project 2025 out there, that you're going to take people liberties, their rights, their money, everything away from them. And people are getting wind of it. Even when they had the BET Wars, Taraji mentioned Project 2025. Like the second that she mentioned it, that the spike on Google was, immediately high, that people started researching Project 2025. So the Democrats who are saying that President Joe Biden needs to jump out the race, they need to shut up. They need to, go ahead and leave their seat, because at this point, we're not switching candidates. We're not changing anything up. President Biden needs to hold steady. The Democrats need to hold steady, and we are going to come out of this victorious, like we have done in the past, because all that hoopla Trump is spitting, nothing but lies and deceit. And people are waking up and they're seeing that he is talking, a lot of BS, and that he is saying, a lot of things that's just not true. I mean, we can refer back to the debate. Everything that spewed out of his mouth was not true. It was a lie. And when CNN actually fact checked Trump, he had a whole dang on report, complete policy and, things like that, whatever. So no, we need to hold steady. and we need to continue on our trajectory, and we need to continue to do what we're doing, because the people are getting behind Joe, and the people have supported Joe. And so when we go to the polls, we're going to show up and show out just like they did on January 6th, but we're going to hit that ballot box.
Yeah, we definitely gonna hit that ballot box and everything. Speaking of hitting that ballot box, I'm down here in North Carolina, and we got this crazy person that is lieutenant governor. But apparently, he was saying that some folks need killing. So apparently, he went to a church, Mark Robinson, and was telling some folks that some folks need killing, and that's the way that he's handling things and all along those lines. So I don't know if you've been following it, but he was at a North Carolina church meeting, and he was basically out there wanting to advocate for us going out there and I guess just willy-nilly killing folks. And I'm going like, that sounds like some serious renegade kind of a nonsense. But I don't know if you've been following this idiot, but definitely that's something he put out there, is this notion of just go out there and kill some folks just because they need killing. And he said that in the latter part of last week.
Well, the thing about it is, what they fail to realize when they say some folks need killing, they talking about Black folks. You know what I'm saying? They're not talking about nobody else, but they're talking about Black and brown people and things like that or whatever. So people got to understand, and they got to be able to read between the lines and understand this lingo, because they have a certain lingo that they refer to, like African Americans, they refer to Black people, they refer to brown people, Hispanics, and, things like that or whatever. So you got to learn how to lingo and read between the lines and things like that or whatever. So that's who they're referring to, because make the MAGA, they were saying like it has some significance to like devil worshiping and things like that or whatever, make America great again. And they also have some relevance and some significance to like 1950s, when Black women were not basically allowed to do anything, and we basically had to become subservient to white women. And they want to take us back to those times where we didn't have a voice, where we didn't have a place in society, and they ran the world. So that's what, when they say make America great again, that's what they're meaning. They want to take us out of what we have going on, and they want to place us in a box where we're no longer able to speak and voice our opinions, and we no longer can get in that ass and stuff be done to them. They don't want that. They want us to be silenced. They want us to go back to the way where when they're walking on the sidewalk, we had to get off the damn sidewalk and move. But nowadays, we don't do that shit. We stand on the sidewalk, you gonna move, I'm not moving. You know what I'm saying? So that's the type of, scenario that when they say make America great again, that's what they mean. They're not talking about anything else other than, basically putting Black people in their place. And especially the Black woman, because, we see a lot of scenarios where they're trying to silence the Black woman. We see it with Simone Biles when, they're trying to, take away her, her abilities and things like that. Oh, because the other athletes can't do it. You know what I'm saying? We see it with Angel Reese against Caitlin Clark. Oh, she's hating on Caitlin Clark. We see it across the board. We saw it with Serena and the other lady that, that they were trying to put against Serena and things like that or whatever. We see it with Coco Gauff, how, she's getting, bad calls and the things are not, adequate and it's not fair. So, we see the silencing of Black women. But at the same time, Black women are the leaders when it comes to, entrepreneurship, when it comes to education, when it comes to a whole host of things and, stuff like that or whatever. But at the same that they want to shut down and they want to silence Black women. There's a prime example of them trying to shut down, silence Black women in Atlanta when they took it to the Supreme Court that Black women could not loan or give Black women money to support Black women-owned businesses. But white people have been doing this the whole time. You know what I'm saying? They don't say that they're doing it, but they have been doing it. And, they had other people, like Asians applying, other races and things like that, just to get this company, sanction where they cannot help Black women. So, I mean, people got to understand that these people are not playing for to help when it comes to, anything. These people are playing to shut down and keep you in bondage and to keep you basically codependent and to keep you needing the system. So, when they say make America great again, that's exactly what they mean, that they want to make America great again, where Black people are not, as successful as they are now and things like that. Because, Black Wall Street, how they burned down businesses because Black people were sustainable. We sustain our own selves. We had businesses. We didn't have to go to the white people, and we didn't have to go to white communities. We had transportation businesses. We had all we had all different types of businesses. We had black owned banks. We had all this stuff that they destroyed. We had a black owned bank that they put a white man over, and he took all the black people money, loaned it out to all his white friends, never had to pay it back, and these black people lost all their money. But he received no repercussions. You know what I'm saying? So it's just stuff like that. And black people got to understand that, when they are trying to be likened and akin to these people and, work in tandem, these people are just accepting you. You have not been accepted. And I've said this multiple times, and they have to understand the difference between acceptance and tolerance. And so they'll tolerate you, but they won't accept you. A prime example of not being accepted and not being on their equal footing. When President Trump, when black men went out there doing all kind of foolishness and got arrested, where did he get arrested? South Carolina, North Carolina, and things like that. Did they go get him? He sat his ass in jail. He couldn't make bail. But do you think Trump went and got his ass? Because he was out there acting a damn fool for damn President Trump, shucking and jiving, stepping and fetching, and he showed him exactly what he was to him. He didn't even acknowledge this man. He didn't say nothing, go get him. Let me pay his bail. Let me do anything. No, he set his ass in jail. So that should tell you right there about what type of person he is and what type of person you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt about that and everything. Speaking of people that dealing with, and there was a incident that involved a topic that you are very much aware of, and that is the school system and all along those lines. So I have not been following this story, just heard about it recently, but I said I was going to ask you about it. But a Baltimore teacher is going to be able to keep his job and everything because he went viral after a TikTok was out there of students fixing his hair, and that caused concern and apparently initially sparked controversy because he recruited some of the female students to undo his braids while in class. But after posting the heavily critiqued video, Marquise White revealed that he was placed under a performance evaluation. However, his success as an educator led to his decision to continue teaching at Baltimore's Maya Angelou French Immersion School. So definitely looks like he will be able to keep his job, but as one that's in this education space, I was just wondering what you were hearing about this, because apparently there were some folks that were upset that I guess he got folks to undo his hair and all along those lines. And we know the whole conversation around braids and where they are acceptable or not acceptable has always been one that's out there. And it says that while he can still keep teaching, he will still face a 5-day suspension. But I just wondering your take on this man that braid he got.
Well, the thing about it is, as an educator, you have to, maintain certain professional relationships with children, with, like staff. And I didn't see any harm in him having kids, take the braids out and stuff like that, because, in the Black community, this is what we do. But speaking from an educational standpoint, it was wrong on so many levels. You know what I'm saying? Because the way that they perceived it, he's grooming them, he's doing this, he's doing that. It can be perceived that way, So when I mentor young educators, I tell them all the time, do not do anything that you do not want publicized on the internet or Fox 5 News. You know what I'm saying? So, although we know that it was no harm in what, took place and transpired or whatever, but coming from, the community standpoint, it's a problem. And some parents had a problem with it. Although, the white man had the children decorating his head with red, white, and blue, and he received no repercussions and things like that or whatever. But, my thing is, when it comes to children, I just, I keep a fine line with the kids, in the elementary, for example, in the elementary setting, they were like, you can hug the kids, because the little kids, they want a hug from you. So, I would always reach down, let them hug on my, hug on my little leg and, stuff like that, or whatever. And, give the little kids, a hug and things like that. I never gave front hugs, because when you're embracing somebody in the front, you're embracing somebody as if, the relationship is different. You know what I'm saying? But, I did give a hug. I always gave a sideways hug, or I gave a fist bump. Now to the older kids, fist bump. You know what I'm saying? But I don't allow them to touch me. I don't allow them to touch my hair. I don't allow them to touch my clothes. I don't allow them to do any of that stuff because at the end of the day, I am the adult. I am the professional. I am the teacher. And this is just me. This is my policy. But like I said, when I mentor young teachers, I always tell them, never be caught in a situation where you're alone in a room with a child. Male, female, indifferent, whatever, transgender, never. You always have either another child or another adult in that situation where you always have another witness that can corroborate what you have going on. Now, as far as, children, doing hair, I work at a CTE school. So we have cosmetology, we have baking, we have pharmacy, we have carpentry. So we have students in all facets of these areas. Now, are the students allowed to do adult hair, do their makeup and things like that? Yes, they are. But we have a wing at the school where we have a whole cosmetology wing. We have a whole barbering area where the students are allowed there to cut adults' hair, to curl adults' hair, to do nails, to do lashes, and all of that. So that is acceptable. But when you're doing it inside of the classroom and things like that or whatever, that's, to me, that's just unacceptable. And I'm glad he received his job back and he only got the 5-day suspension or whatever. But I just hope this is a learning lesson for him that, he needs to understand that at the end of the day, he's still an educator and he's still an adult, and they hold us to certain standards. They hold us to different standards. It's like, we're not human, like we're subhuman, like we can't do certain things. But at the same time, I get it, because if a grown woman, with my son, when he was in school, if a grown woman had my son stroking her hair and stroking her back, I would have problems. I would go up there. I would be ready to throw hands. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, if you don't want it out there, don't do it, and it's just a respect level and things like that or whatever. Not saying that anything's going on, but just that respect level, and keep yourself in the clear. That's all I say. Keep yourself
in the clear. That makes a lot of sense and everything. I just wondered because I've thought about it because, as I've told you before, and other folks know it, I don't live that far from Duke University, and Duke University definitely has some folks that will train you in terms of getting your dental work or even getting some of your medical work done. But I sometimes think about going there, whether it's even like actually I have a ophthalmologist, but I sometimes think about going there just because it would be cheaper. And while it might be cheaper, you do wonder how effective they will be since they are being trained and all along those lines. So I don't know. I know that Howard and some of the other DC schools have got training institutions as well. So I was just wondering your take on training institutions and whether that is something you would use for important medical or important health concerns, because I do know some folks that even make some money by participating in like studies and all along those lines. And like I said, I have contemplated going to get some of the health things that need to be done as you get older, but some of those institutions, and I know Duke's got them. I think even our HBCU, North Carolina Central, may even have some of the things as well. But I just wanted your take on training institutions if you need to have medical care.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I go to Howard now. I go to Howard University Hospital now. My OBGYN is at Howard University. So, I mean, some of your better doctors come out of those training institutions and things like that. And when I first moved here, I had an amazing doctor. He was over at Howard, and I consulted him about, a lot of things. Even when I had my breast reduction, I consulted my OBGYN, and he pointed me in the right direction of, which doctor I should see and which doctor I shouldn't see and things like that. It's nothing wrong with going to a training hospital because you do have, medical doctors that are there that are training the students and things like that or whatever. And like I said, some of your better doctors come out of the, those training facilities. So I don't have a problem with it. And I still go to Howard to the OBGYN, and like I tell people all the time, I prefer Black doctors because Black doctors understand Black issues. So, I prefer going there versus, going somewhere else where I have to deal with, people of other races and things like that. They don't understand me. They don't understand our bodies. They don't understand anything. So, I would say wholeheartedly go to, like a training institute and things like that. Cause, you have some amazing doctors that come from there. Even, even when I caught COVID, my mom was like, telling me, she was like, you need to come home. You need to come home. I was like, Graham, I can't travel. She was like, no, you need to come home. You need to go to LSU. They don't know what they're doing up there. They don't know what they're doing up there. So anyways, I was like, I cannot travel. I cannot go to LSU. So what I did was I went to, I qualified for this program at the University of Maryland. And it was the experimental program with the experimental drug and things like that. And so like they gave me the experimental drug and I went up where I had to drive myself, went over there, experimental drug at the University of Maryland facility. And then like I immediately started shaking back and things like that or whatever, because I mean, when I tell you I had lost so much weight and things like that. And my friend came and she actually drove me to the doctor. She drove me. She was like, my bestie, she was like, no, I'm going to take you to the, I was like, are you sure? So we drove with the windows down. I was laid down in her back seat and stuff like that. And she took me to the doctor in Bowie, one that she had went to. And so they were the ones that recommended me for that particular program. They said I qualified for the program and, you know, things like that or whatever. So like, you know, a couple of days later, I was, you know, at the University of Maryland getting the experimental drug and, you know, getting the medications and things like that. So to me, it's nothing wrong with, you know, going to a medical facility that has students, because, you know, you do have, you know, some good students who are out there who are going to become great, you know, physicians and, you know, practitioners and things like that, you know, and in that instance is different. And like I said, it's different when you are at a school like my school. I have a whole CTE. I'm part of the CTE program because I'm on the technology side. So I'm part of the CTE program. So I'm there. I'm listed on the technology side because I teach. So I fall under CTE. So and like I said, we also have, you know, like those other CTE programs where we're, you know, doing things like my principal wanted me to start a robotics club and, you know, things like that or whatever. So where we're working hand in hand, you know, with the kids and things. That's different than, you know, you just having the kids, you know, come and comb your hair and take your braids out. We have been cleared by, you know, the county and the state of Maryland that we can have children do these things to adults. You know what I'm saying? So the kids, the instructors who are overseeing the kids, they have certain days where, you know, the staff and the students can go up and get haircuts. The students and the staff can go up and get facial. They can do this, they can do that. So in those instances, it's okay. But, you know, when you're just sitting around your desk and be like, oh, can y'all take my braids out? You know what I'm saying? That's not, you know, it's not a good look. Not saying that anything is happening or anything, but that's just not a good look. You know,
no, that's not a good look either.
You know, always CYA, cover your ass, you know, regardless of what you're doing, you always cover your ass. When I mentor young teachers, that's what I tell them. You always CYA, you always cover your ass, because you never know what's going to happen, who's going to say what, who's going to do what. You never know, but you always CYA.
No, that makes a lot of sense. If it's all right, I'm going to actually delve into something. And if you choose not to answer, that's fair as well. But what advice would you give to people? Because I've always been fascinated by this. I see people even advertising for the male version as well, and I did not know that about you. And nothing, no, not showing shade on that, because people have different reasons for the things that they do and everything. But for folks that are either thinking about getting a reduction, it can be done for health reasons or an enlargement, and even those people that are thinking about, because they say that it's some people say that it's all about the motion and the motion in the ocean, and some people want a certain size. So I'm always seeing advertisements about male enhancements and increasing your girth and your width and all along those lines. But what advice would you give to folks that are thinking about doing that, and why should people think about it? Because sometimes that becomes a health issue as well. And I'm thinking that in your case, it might have been for health reasons that you chose to do it. It might also have been vanity reasons and all on those lines. But what advice would you give? Because I'm oftentimes hearing both men and women that are thinking about either reducing or increasing their size and or width.
Well, the thing about it is, I always knew that I was going to get a breast reduction, and I started this process like 10 years in advance. And I'm saying that it's going to take a long time or whatever, but, you know, it was a learning process for me, and I had to go through certain situations, you know, of learning, you know, things and stuff like that, whatever. So when you, as a female, you get older, you know, in age and things like that, and then they start pushing you to get your mammograms and things like that. So I went to go get a mammogram, my OBGYN at Howard. was like,
Mhm.
you know, I'm going to send you to go get a mammogram. So I went to Fairfax because they had one that I could get like that week or whatever, an appointment. And they was like, you know, I was like, you know, I'm here for my mammogram and things like that or whatever. So got the mammogram and stuff like that or whatever. Then like a couple of days, you know how long it takes, a few days, a week or whatever, I got a letter in the mail saying that they found something and they need me to come back in. So I'm panicking. And when I was, and the guy that I was dating at the time, I'm on the phone with him. I got cancer. Oh my God, I got cancer. I was like, I got cancer. This is what this letter mean. He was like, calm down. He was like, you didn't have cancer. They were just saying that they saw something. They want to check it out. They want to do, you know, more tests and things like that. So anyway, I had to schedule another mammogram. So this time, when they scheduled the mammogram, I got a 3D mammogram where they go in and they really look at your boobs and things like that or whatever. So I ended up having a mass in the right one because to get the breast reduction is my right boob was significantly larger than my left boob. And I
Mhm.
don't know if some people don't know this, but you know, I'm talking to women, you know that typically um, your body is one side of your body is a little bit larger. Just like my right foot is a little bit larger than my left foot. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit larger. So my right boob was significantly larger than my left. So I had to get bras to fit my right boob. So anyway, so I went back and they were like, you know, they did see something. They saw a mass in my milk ducts because, you know, women, we have milk ducts.
Right.
So they were like, we want to do a biopsy. So I had to schedule a biopsy and, you know, things like that or whatever. So they did the biopsy and they pulled out the tissue to, you know, send it to the lab and all that good stuff. So come to find out, the biopsy came back. It was benign. It wasn't cancerous or anything like that. But the doctor recommended that I get a breast reduction because he said that by being in my milk duct, it was going to continue to make my boob larger and it was going to continue to grow. And people don't understand that women boobs, even though you get a breast reduction, they still grow back.
Mhm.
So I started the process of, you know, finding a doctor. And so I went back to my OBGYN and I had a conversation with my OBGYN and told him what my plans are. And so he started asking me, had I looked into, you know, like doctors and things like that. So when I went back, I had a list of doctors that I wanted to run by him to see if, you know, they would be okay with, you know, performing the surgery. So he was like, don't go to this doctor because this doctor is brand new. You know, he just started this, you know, you want somebody with a little more experience. He was like, don't go to this doctor because that's not her first practice. Her first practice is
Right.
something else. She is, you know, into this. This is her second practice. He was like, go to this one. He has been doing this. This is his first, you know, that's his first, you know, practice. You know, he's been doing it. He has experience and go to him. So I ended up selecting a black plastic surgeon, Dr. Robert Dennis, and things like that. And I've been looking for this man forever. I cannot freaking find him. I am looking for him. He's no longer at the hospital that I went at. So I went to the hospital that they ended up closing down in Northeast DC. I can't recall the name of it, but I'm quite sure I'll think of it at some point. So anyway, I went there to have my surgery. So I had my surgery and things like that. And had to end up going back to get a second surgery because when I looked at my boobs, you know, because you have to go back periodically, well, very often
Mhm.
when you first get your surgery done, because they have drainage tubes attached
Mhm.
to you so it can, you know, drain the blood and excess fluid and things like that or whatever. So I had to go back and, you know, let them look at the drainage tubes, had to go back, let them take out the drainage tubes. And so when they took out the drainage tube and he was looking at my scars, because I was cut under here and up here. And so when he
Mhm.
was looking at my scars, he was like, there's a wound on your boob. And I was like, that's an open wound. He was like, what happened? He was like, I don't know what happened. I was like, what the fuck you mean you don't know what happened? Why do I have an open wound
Right.
on my boob? So he was like, oh, it'll close, you know, and things like that. I said, no. What you're gonna do in 2 weeks, you're going to put me back under the knife and you're going to close it up. So
Mhm.
if I don't point it out, people can't really tell or whatever. But my right boob is actually smaller than my left boob because I had them remove that tissue because I did not want, you know, like the open wound where, you know, I wasn't for sure what was going to happen and, you know, things like that. I was like, no, you're going to close this wound up. or whatever. So I ended up going back into surgery a second time to have them close that wound up. But you have to have conversations about everything that's going on with your body. Even before we did the surgery, he asked me what type of procedure did I want. Did I want him to like remove my nipples off my nerves, because they're connected to your nerves and things like that or whatever. And I was like, no, I don't want you to remove my nipples. And a lot of people, they get their nipples removed, but they don't get the sensation back into their nipples, and they're just there. Is no function or whatever, no functionality. So I was like, no, leave my nipples attached to the nerve. I do not want you to remove my nipples and things like that. And so all of this is me learning and going through the process of researching. So I tell anybody, if you're getting any type of cosmetic procedure, whether it's a enlargement or reduction or whatever, learn what you need to learn before you go to the doctor, and don't just allow them to make decisions when it comes to your body. You are the gatekeeper of your body, so you need to know what's going on. So everything that I wanted to happen with my body, I directed my doctor, and I told him I wanted X, Y, and Z. I wanted this, I wanted that. Even from the way that he cut my boobs, to the way that they sewed me up, to even to leaving my nipples on and attached to the nerve. I directed him with everything.
That sounds like you were being very much on top of things and all along those lines. I sometimes wonder, because I do know that sometimes that is a very part of the kind of societal way that we look at women, and I don't think that has to be done all the time, because y'all are much more than just your body parts. Y'all are also definitely the spirit and the brains and a number of other things. But I do know, because I've had a friend of mine that had I think double mastectomy, because they were fighting and are still fighting breast cancer, but they are now in remission and have been in remission for a number of years. But I do sometimes wonder about that, because a lot of times that is a part of even that radical decision that you have to make if you are thinking about that in your life and everything. Like I said, a dear friend of mine is in the music game. They decided to do that, and I think they did that maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and they made that decision because it was something to help them stay alive. And like I said, they've been in remission for several years, but I'm sure that was something that they had to think about and everything, because as far as I know, that I don't think they're involved even now and everything, but I'm sure that was a part of their conversation, was how it would impact their dating life, because I want to say that they're in the single space and all along those lines, and also whether guys could even understand the reason that they made that decision and everything, because a lot of times people are so caught up in the like the beauty and the cosmetic part of it and everything. And I'm not saying that's not important, because I know that's part of even your own brand and everything, but it is something that you have to make those kind of decisions about, and you have to make a decision in terms of what's going to be best for you. And if there is going to impact your social life, then you have to make that decision as well.
Well, I mean, like I said, with anything that's going on with your body, you need to research it before you just jump up and go do it or whatever, because when I was a little bit heavier, I was in a size 12, size 14 or whatever, and my face was a little thicker. I was a little thicker. I thought I wanted to get gastric bypass or whatever, So I started researching gastric bypass and, what they were going to do, how they were going to cut the stomach, and started going to the seminars and listening in on the seminars and the weight, and actually I didn't even qualify. They were telling me I had to actually gain more weight in order for me to qualify for the surgery or whatever. And so, when I found out, what they were actually going to do, and I was like, this is not the procedure that I want, because, they're going to actually take your stomach and they're going to cut your stomach and they're going to, bypass your stomach to directly to your intestine. And I mean, it's a major surgery. And I was just like, this is not what I want. This is what I thought I wanted and things like that or whatever, but this is not what I want. And then, you also have to, before you start making, decisions like that, you have to go undergo psychological testing. And a lot of people don't understand that, because they want to make sure that you're sane and you're able to, make your decisions and, things like that or whatever. Because when I did my psychological testing, they, the doctor was like, you're a narcissist. I mean, I was like, well, I'm not really a narcissist, but, if that's what you want to call it, then, go right ahead. She was like, you have very strong.
Dr. Anthony, you are not the female version of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a narcissist. I've gotten to know you.
No, exactly. And so, like I told her, Yeah, but like I told her, I said I'm very upfront and I'm very direct. I don't play games. I don't, beat around the bush and things like that or whatever. If it's out there, I'm gonna say it. If I agree with it, I do. If I don't, I don't. And then she was like, "Well, are you gonna eat this?" I was like, "No." "Are you gonna do that?" I said, "No." I said, if I don't see no benefit in it, I'm not doing it or whatever. So that's why, based off of my responses, she said that I was I suffered from narcissism and, I was a narcissist and things like that or whatever. I was like, okay, whatever you say, woman. But anyway, you have to undergo, like psychological testing. You have to do all these things and, stuff like that. And people don't understand, like, these are major surgeries and you have to follow your plan to the letter of the law. Because if you don't follow your plan to the letter of the law, it can hurt you in the long run because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. When you eat, like they were telling me, like I couldn't eat no more than, you see this container that I have, like my food consumption had to fit inside of this. It was so many ounces or whatever, and it was like little tiny bits and portions of food that I could only consume if I were to have had that surgery done. So, I just was like, I don't even qualify for the surgery. I don't want them cutting my stomach. So I was just like, you can do things on your own to shrink your stomach. You can start eating less, don't eat to get full, eat less, shrink your stomach on your own. And that's basically what I've been doing, shrinking my stomach on my own, eating less, trying to eat more greens and leafy things and stuff like that. But in the process of doing all that, I had to research all of this information in order to get a better understanding and to gain knowledge around, what those procedures are, because you hear everybody, oh, I did this, I did that, but, everything is not for everybody. And, you have to understand what works best for you and your body, because it may not work best for somebody else. There was a young lady who suffer from allergies. She was in LA. This happened. So she ended up taking somebody allergy medicine or whatever, and she ended up burning herself from the inside out and died. You know what I'm saying? Based off of her taking somebody else allergy medicine. And I tell people all the time, do not consume a medicine that is geared towards somebody else, because you never know what that medicine is for. And, you never know your reaction to that medicine. And even when I go to the allergy specialist or whatever, we do trials with the allergies, because I have severe allergies. So I take a lot of medicine, shots, and, all that stuff, so I can be able to function just like normal people. Because if I can't take those shots and take all that medicine, I can't function like normal people. I get seriously sick. I'm allergic to pretty much everything, and I get seriously ill. And a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, she's normal. She doesn't have, like allergies to this. She doesn't have, like allergies to that or whatever. So I tell people all the time, I have food allergies. I have product allergies. I have environmental allergies. I have all these different types of allergies. I have pet allergies. I have animal allergies and things like that or whatever. I can't be around dogs and cats. I get seriously ill. My face starts to swell. My throat starts to close and things like that. And then when I tell people that I have allergies and how severe they are, they think that I'm lying because they can't see the allergy. But just because you can't see the allergy does not mean it's not there, because it happened with my cousin. I kept telling my cousin, I was like, get your dog. I can't be around your dog. It's gonna have me, have an allergic reaction and, things like that. So he was like, oh, he just want to play with you. I was like, I don't play with animals. I don't play with pets. You know what I'm saying? I said, because I'm highly allergic to them. So, needless to say, my face started swelling up, which it did. It swole. My throat started closing. So I had to, and I did not have the medicine with me. So I had to hurry up, leave. And he was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. No, because I told you from jump that I'm seriously allergic to your pet, but you wouldn't remove your pet anyway. So I ended up leaving after that or whatever. So now if we hang out, I'm like, look, your pet has to be put away. I cannot, be around your pet. I cannot do any of that stuff or whatever. After this, I'm gonna send you a picture of what my face looked like after it started, the swelling started going down and things like that. Even with food allergies, my cousin almost killed me in Florida. I told her that I have food allergies. She didn't believe me. So I told her that I am highly allergic to crabs. I cannot consume crabs at all. I cannot eat them, period. In nothing. It cannot be mixed. It cannot be imitation. It cannot be any of that. So I told her when she cooked my shrimp, because I can eat shrimp as long as they're cooked well done, shrimp and lobster, I can eat that. So I told her when she cooked my food, it cannot go into the same container as the crabs. So she ended up cooking my food with the crabs and things like that. And I instantly started getting sick. And I felt myself getting sick. And so I had to go and I had to leave to go to the airport. And so as we were driving down Interstate 95, heading into Tampa, you know, I'm telling my cousin, which is her sister, I was like, you got to pull over. She was like, I can't pull over. I said, I'm sick. I'm sick. So my body just started convulsing. And I just started throwing up and stuff like that. And we're driving down Interstate 95. She was like, stick your head out the window and stuff like that or whatever. So I'm convulsing and throwing up, you know, and I was like, you tell her she almost fucking killed me. You know what I'm saying? You cannot look at a person and say that they don't have this and they don't have that. You know what I'm saying? I can't do like, you know, normal people. You know, some people can go out and try certain foods and things like that. When it comes to, you know, certain stuff, I have to be like a kid that's being, you know, given food introductions, because certain things that I never had, I don't know how I'm going to respond to it. Even like with strawberries. Now I can eat strawberries as long as they don't touch my lips. Right. If they touch my lips are going to swell. So I have to put it directly in my mouth so that they don't touch my lips. Products, you know, hair products, certain products like with cherry in it, burn my scalp. I cannot wash my hair with shampoo with cherry in it. Certain product lines like Dark and Lovely and things like that, which is a black product line, I can't use it because it burns my scalp. So, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, you have to take people serious when they tell you that they have an ailment, they have an allergy, they have this, they have that. Just because you can't see it does not mean it's not there. You know, I had somebody when I was younger, when I was in college, recommended some soap to me. So, I mean, I didn't know I was allergic to the soap, but I tried it. It was Coast Sun Spray, that yellow soap that they had a long time ago. I don't even know if they still make Coast and Coast Sun Spray. I showered in that Coast. It felt like somebody poured battery acid on my skin. I was so burnt and, you know, having an allergic reaction and things like that or whatever, that, you know, I couldn't, you know, I had to go to the doctor. You know, I started teaching in Red River Parish. When I started teaching up there, I was around the children. Every day I broke out in hives, and my mom can, you know, witness this. My brother, I'm covered in hives, you know, whelps and hives and, you know, things like that or whatever, because I was around a new environment. I was around new people and stuff like that or whatever. Even when I taught third grade up here, I kept telling my principal that something was wrong with the room. My doctor wanted to take me off work because he thought I was allergic to the children. He thought the children, you know, because children are, you know, germy. He thought the kids were, you know, making me sick and, you know, things like that. Typically, I do get sick when I work with younger children. I stay sick for about 2 to 3 weeks to a month or whatever if I'm working with younger children. But in this instance, it had mold in the room, and I was exposed. I was exposed to mold for like 6 months. And I kept telling my principal, you know, something is wrong with this building, because every day that I come in here, I get sick. One day my lips are swollen. One day this side of my face is swollen. The next day this side of my face is swollen. The next day my whole face is swollen. And I kept telling her, I was like, something is wrong with this building. So she didn't believe me, and she left me in the room exposed to that mold for like 6 months or whatever. So, you know, I tell people all the time, you cannot take a person at face value when they tell you that, hey, I'm allergic to this. Will make me sick, this will do this will do that or whatever. You have to believe that person, because, you know, most of the time I don't even have my EpiPen with me, but when I travel out the country, I make sure I have my EpiPen. I have one at the that stays at the allergy specialist, just in case when she gives me medicine, I have an allergic reaction. I have my EpiPen that will, you know, combat that. And then I have one that I travel with, that I have to take with me everywhere. And then, you know, like I tell people all the time, even with the service dogs, and, you know, people talking about, oh, the dog is hypoallergenic. It's not hypoallergenic for me. I'm seriously allergic to pets. I cannot be around your pet. Although I had pets when I was younger, but I was never around the pet. The pet always stayed outside. It was never in the house. It was never close to me. It was never any of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, taking your,
Dr. Anthony, in that same regards, because I think I mentioned this to you before and everything, and unfortunately, for whatever reasons, the relationship didn't work out. But I did have a friend that had what do you call it, diabetes. And I think that one of the best things that they did at the time that we were dating, we only dated for a brief time, it might have been less than 6 months and everything along those lines, was they came to visit me and they literally showed me how to work the needle and how to do that and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And I sometimes think that that is something that people don't do enough of, because if you have various allergies, if you have various health issues, I think that that is one of the best things you can do in a relationship, is to let people know how to deal with the person should something happen. Because, like I said, at the time that they revealed what they were going through and showed me how to work that and everything, I thought that that was one of the most moving relationships that I have been involved in. Like I said, for whatever reason, it didn't work and it was a short relationship. But I definitely I took that to be a significant part of our temporary bond. The fact that they felt comfortable enough to show me what to do should an emergency transpire and everything. Because I think that they had, whichever is the one that is the one that you always have to have the needles. I think that's type 1, if I remember correctly. But I just thought that was
Yeah.
known of them.
So that's one of the things. Like if I'm in a relationship, which I'm not, I'm single or whatever. If I'm in a relationship and I start dating someone, I always communicate with them about my food allergies, about product allergies, about everything. I tell them, I carry my EpiPen, and if this were to happen, utilize the EpiPen. It goes in your outer thigh, in the muscle, and things like that. And if I ever have to use the EpiPen, I have to go to the doctor. I have to go to the hospital immediately after I use the EpiPen. So that's one of the things that I always communicate. So my friends, my close friends, they know I have, like severe allergies and, things like that or whatever. And so they pretty much know, my food, I cannot consume, like certain things, can use certain products, even down to the washing powder. I cannot use Tide. Tide breaks me out. So I have to use, like dental things. Some of my family members, they used to laugh at me when I would use like baby soap, because I couldn't use, adult people soap. I had to use children, the children, Johnson and Johnson, like baby soap. Always smell like a baby, and stuff like that or whatever. But I have to use products that don't affect me in a negative manner, and don't mess my skin up, mess me up or whatever. So when you're dating someone, that's very important that they understand your allergies, your food allergies, everything that your health elements, everything that is wrong, because that's one of the things that I communicate when I first start talking to somebody. I get like really ill, I have bad allergies. I cannot eat this. I cannot eat that. I can't taste it. I can't do any of that stuff, because it's gonna affect me instantaneously and stuff like that or whatever. I remember one time, before I knew I was severely allergic to crabs, I had tried to eat crabs before, and I was so sick that it had me hallucinating, and I thought I was another person. So it's not something that oh, you can just take a Benadryl with me. I can't do that, because I've heard people say, oh, just take a Benadryl, you'll be all right. No, I physically get physically sick. I cannot just take a Benadryl and I'm okay. So that's one of the things I do is communicate to people that, hey, I'm allergic to this, I'm allergic to that. And even when you go to different restaurants, they'll ask you, do you have allergies? Are you allergic to this? Are you allergic to that? And I tell them right off the break, please keep my food separate. Do not cross contaminate. Do not do this. Do not do that, because I am severely allergic to a lot of things. Like I don't switch my washing powder, Gain or Surf. Interchange between Gain or Surf. I don't switch my soap. Is either baby soap or like one of those mild soaps for sensitive skins and things like that or whatever. Can't switch my shampoos. I cannot use product ethnic hair. I can't use that. I have to use products for Caucasian hair. Not saying that I have Caucasian hair or whatever, but it's just the allergies and things like that the products that's in those shampoos and dyes and things, I can't use it because it burns my scalp. And if it gets on my ear like it did before, one time I went to the salon, it burned my ear, it burned my neck, it burned my scalp. And so, I get tracks and things like that or whatever. And so she had to take all my tracks out and totally redo my hair, because I had knots and lumps in my head from where it had burned me physically, because, my allergy to it or whatever. And, simple products that other people can use, I can't use. Simple things that other people can eat, I can't eat. Simple things that other people can do, like pet a dog, hold a cat, and all that stuff, I can't do any of that stuff because I'm highly allergic to it. And allergic to it, and they think, oh, you're bougie, you're this, you're that. Although I am bougie, but when it comes to my health, I don't play with my health. But I'm seriously allergic to like animals and things like that or whatever. Because I had my friend laughing, Misha. I told him I was gonna get a robo dog. He was like, a robo dog. I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna get a dog that has batteries. I can't have a real pet outside of a fish or something like that or whatever because I'm highly allergic to it. I cannot be around them. I can't play with them. I can't touch them. I can't do, any of that stuff. So if I don't have, like a pet that's mechanical or anything like that, I can never have a real live pet.
But Dr. Anthony, how does that impact your going to events and everything? Because I don't know. Because like I said, I don't know whether you make it a point to go to, say, the circus or the zoo or even botanical gardens. Because a lot of times they will have things that you might be allergic to in those places. And I know that sometimes even school systems will go on trips to some of those places. So I know because we've brought this up in other shows that you are definitely not going to have the typical pets. But is it the entirety of the animal kingdom, or are you able to go to, like, say, if somebody was to take you to a date to a circus or a zoo, is that allowed because they're in cages and maybe you don't have as much to deal with them as you would if they were in your physical presence? I just didn't know how impactful it is in the choices of people where they may decide to take you to.
Now, as long as like we went to Australia and I actually petted the kangaroo. I did pet the
Right.
kangaroo. They wouldn't let me touch the koala bear or whatever. But after I petted the kangaroo, I immediately went and washed my hands and with hand sanitizer and all that stuff or whatever. So I didn't give it a chance to give me a reaction or anything like that. So if I touched it, I'm gonna immediately go wash up and things like that or whatever. So
Yeah.
I did touch, and play around with the kangaroo because I wanted to pet the kangaroo. As long as I'm not, like really around the animals, I'm okay. But when I did touch the kangaroo, like I said, I immediately went to the restroom to go wash my hands, and I carry hand sanitizer and stuff like that. I did not touch my skin. I did not touch my face. I did not touch, my eyes or, because sometimes we as humans, after we touch something, we tend to, go in our face or touch our eyes. So, like I said, I immediately went and washed my hands to make sure that, after I touched the kangaroo, I was clean and things like that or whatever. But
Yeah,
just as far as going to the zoo, I can go to the zoo. I can be around the animals as long as it's over there, but they can't
no,
be
that
in my
makes
physical presence. You know what I'm
that
saying? So
makes a
I
lot
can
of
see the
sense.
animals. I even touched, I even held a primate. I even held a baby monkey when we were in where were we? Dominican Republic. I think we were in Dominican Republic. I held a baby monkey. Same thing, I have to wash my hands, keep hand sanitizer, and and I even let it, hold it in my hands, and things like that or whatever. But it
But
didn't really like physically
Dr.
harm
Anthony,
me.
that's not. But
So
Dr. Anthony, that's just not humans and everything. Because I know because we have panhandlers here at Durham and even the cultural center, and I know that sometimes after I have shook in their hands or given them some money, if I choose to do that and everything, yeah, I'll go and get some sanitizer and wash their hands. Not trying to be disrespectful to them, but as you just said, I don't know where their hands have been. I don't know what they've been doing and everything. So I will do that oftentimes just out of my own sense of uh, safety and all along those lines. But like I said, I don't know where they might have been and everything, and I don't know. And I know we're going to wrap up shortly, but even sometimes when you run into people, because I actually had this encounter recently, because as you know, I get around by mass transit, and I accidentally, that used to be fighting words, stepped on the gentleman's shoe and everything. So I let him know that it was a accident and nothing intentional, because I was not trying to get a world war going on in the bus for something that was inadvertent. But I did give him
yeah.
the respect to let him know that it was not done intentionally, because I do know that some people can be very upset depending on what kind of shoes they are. And I did not even notice whether they were a name brand or not. I just thought it was a good point of safety on my part to let him know that it was an inadvertent act and it was not an intentional act, and all along those lines, because I wasn't trying to start World War III on a bus full of about 75 to 100 people and all along those lines. So I just let him know, look, it wasn't done intentionally. Just let you know that it was done inadvertently. But yeah, sometimes you got to do things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if I give somebody money and they end up touching my hand, I immediately go wash I'm needing to go wash up, or if I can't get to, to wash, I have hand sanitizer. I keep hand sanitizer in my truck. I have it in every door has hand sanitizer. So the person that's on the passenger side in the back
You mean
seat,
like
everybody
this?
has it. Yep.
You mean like this?
Everybody has, yep. Everybody has hand sanitizer. So nobody can say, oh, well, you don't have hand. Nope. I have hand sanitizer, and I have the big bottles of hand sanitizer or whatever. So, I try
Like I
to,
said,
like I said, I try to keep
we keep it around
myself.
the culture center. So, like I said, hand sanitizer is there are several of them around the center, but this is in the front office. But I know that there are several around, and definitely my boss to make sure that they are around both in the restroom as well as other places as well. So, yeah,
Mhm.
there are several of those bottles that are around for that exact reason.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, my thing is always be clean, because you never know, because your skin is open. Your skin is your largest organ, and you can, contract things through your skin, and, you can contract things through people touch. I remember one time when I was at my father's house and I had to move my letter. So when you join a church, if you're leaving a church, you have to move your letter from one church to another church or whatever. So I had to move my letter from my dad's previous church to his current church. And so he was like, you have to fellowship with the people. I was like, what you mean I got to fellowship with the people? He was like, you got to fellowship with the people. You got to let the congregation come up and hug and touch you. I was like, I don't know about all that. You know what I'm saying? So my father, on the day of the actual service, when I was moving my letter from Springville Baptist Church to House of Refuge Apostolic Ministries or whatever, my father gathered all of us in the living room, and he started praying for me. He was like, God, Jesus, please let my daughter allow these people to touch her so she can fellowship in the church. So I was just like, because he knows I don't like people touching me, because, I don't know where your hands have been. I don't know where you have been. If we not cool like that, don't touch me. I do not like people touching me, and some people get offended, but I just don't like people touching me, because at the end of the day, when I'm struggling here at home and I can't breathe and I'm up all night and I'm taking all this medicine, or when I'm taking all this medicine and I'm sleep throughout the day and I'm sleeping till the next day, and y'all calling me and I don't respond, and you're like, oh, that's all you do is sleep. Yeah, because I'm drugged up, because I have to take medicine, because I can't, function like a normal person. I have to take all this medicine in order to be able to, function. My throat itch, my eyes itch, my ears itch, my face swell up, my lips swell up. I break out in hives just at, the drop of, a dime or whatever. So yes, I do have to take a lot of medicine. And when I do take the medicine, I'm highly drowsy, and I'm seriously, I'm seriously sleepy. So, when I tell people don't do X, Y, and Z, it's for a reason. I'm not trying to be bad and bougie, which I am, but I have to protect myself at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're not trying to be conceited or anything like that. And I've had friends of mine, even when I have gotten in their space and everything, because definitely people have to understand the notion of space and all along those lines. And
Mm-hmm.
definitely I've had some friends that have been like, yeah, you're getting a little bit too close. And I can respect them for that if they have the desire for that space limitation. And it's not even all times dating people. It can also be business associates and other folks. So definitely you have to respect people's space boundaries. And speaking of space boundaries and speaking of the church, because I know we're getting ready to end and everything, I actually found on my door at my apartment this afternoon, because they had apparently knocked while I was doing some other podcasts back home and doing some other work of other sorts and everything. And I realized that the folks that love to knock on your doors had knocked on my doors, because they had sent me a notice telling me to come to their church. But yeah, the Jehovah's Witnesses love knocking on your doors, and I sometimes wonder what they're doing in terms of their efforts at sanitation, because they do knock on a whole lot of doors and they do get around quite a bit and everything. So I'm hoping that they are carrying maybe some hand sanitizer with us, because I know that I ran across a couple that had knocked on the door. I think that was maybe a month ago, but apparently this time they just left a little flyer telling me where to come to their service and everything. So not knocking people's religious beliefs. Different people have different religious beliefs and everything along those lines. So if there are members listening to Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm not knocking that if that is your faith walk and everything.
I would hope that they are, and things like that or whatever. Um, I would hope that they are doing that, because COVID is still alive and well and stuff like that. And even when I travel, when I'm flying, I still wear my mask, and I still have my hand sanitizer and things like that or whatever, because people are sick and people are coughing and things like that or whatever. And I just don't want to. I personally don't want to be sick. And I know, like, when I go back into the school system, I'm sick for the first 2 to 3 weeks when I go back into the school system, when I'm around the kids and, you know, things like that or whatever. So I know I can get sick, you know, like really quickly and stuff. So I still practice, you know, wearing my mask and, you know, social distancing and, you know, things like that or whatever. And, but I would hope that they are doing the same. I have seen some people walking with their mask and, you know, some of the elderly people still wear their masks and, you know, stuff like that. But if I'm just out and I'm in my truck or, you know, I'm just with one person, I won't put my mask on. But, you know, like I said, when I travel, when I'm flying, oh, I'm definitely wearing my mask. Actually, I double up and I wear 2 masks and things like that or whatever. So, you know, I practice what I preach. But, you know, clock on the wall says that's all, and we're a little bit over time. And we thank y'all for tuning in. And don't forget to click like and share, and, you know, try to get us up there. You know, we're number 1 in the other countries, but we want to be number 1 in the US. So make sure you click like and share. And support your girl and tell people about, you know, the all around and things like that. And if it's a topic that you want to hear or something you want to talk about and you want to be a guest, make sure you hit myself up or my producer, Mark Lee, and we can make that happen. So with that being said, deuces, my loves.
We're out of here.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.